I remember thinking, after the divorce was finalized, that the hardest part was over. I was wrong. So profoundly, catastrophically wrong. The ink wasn't even dry on the papers before the real battle began, not a battle of legal terms and assets, but a silent, insidious war for my sanity and, more importantly, for my children. I'm Ryan O'Connell, a 30-year-old elementary school teacher here in Portland. Kids are my life. Always have been. My own two, Leo, who's 6, and Mia, who just turned 4, are my entire universe. When Veronica and I decided to split, the one thing I vowed, absolutely swore to myself, was that they would never feel the void of a missing parent. I was going to be present, hands-on, the stable rock they deserved. My school schedule was demanding, yes, but I'd always prided myself on juggling it all. It was hard, especially as a newly single dad, but every scraped knee I kissed, every bedtime story I read, every school project I helped with felt like a small victory. I was doing it, or so I believed. Looking back, the signs were always there, faint whispers in the background music of our lives, which I, in my naive optimism, simply dismissed as static. Veronica and I met in college. She was bright, ambitious, a whirlwind of energy that seemed to complement my more grounded nature. She had this way of seeing everything, of anticipating problems, which I initially admired. She'd take charge, managing our social calendar, our finances, even what groceries we bought. I thought it was efficient, a testament to her drive. There were times, little moments, when her control felt a bit suffocating. A comment about my choice of clothes, a subtle redirection of a conversation I was having, an insistence on knowing my every plan for the day. I'd shrug it off, telling myself she just cared. She loved me, right? That's what I told myself when she'd subtly undermine my decisions with the kids or make light of my worries. She was the fun mom, I was the strict dad, and that was just our dynamic. Even after the divorce, her initial reaction was a kind of weary resignation. She said she understood I wanted to be an active parent, that she just wanted what was best for the kids, which of course, I wholeheartedly agreed with. There was a part of me, a small, hopeful part, that believed we could navigate co-parenting amicably for the children's sake. That hope, so pure and earnest, was the first thing she set out to dismantle. It started subtly. A missed email about a parent-teacher conference. A forgotten doctor's appointment. At first, I blamed myself entirely. My workload at school had picked up. Long hours prepping lessons, grading papers, managing classroom dynamics. I was often exhausted, running on fumes by the time I picked up the kids. My phone, usually glued to my hand, felt like a foreign object some days. Veronica would call, her voice laced with a concern that felt just a little too sharp. "Ryan, you forgot Leo's dentist appointment again. It was at 2. He's got a cavity. You know how important these are." My stomach would drop. "What? No, I thought it was next week. I swear I put it in my calendar." She'd sigh, a heavy, audible sound. "It was today, Ryan. I even texted you the reminder yesterday. Did you even look at it?" I'd scramble to check my phone, heart pounding. Nothing. No reminder. No text from her confirming the time. My mind raced. Had I deleted it by accident? Was I just that overwhelmed? I'm so sorry, Veronica. My head's just not in it today. I'll call and reschedule immediately. The shame would wash over me, thick and suffocating. How could I forget something so important for my son? These lapses grew more frequent. I'd pack Mia's backpack for school, carefully checking the weather, making sure she had a change of clothes. Then Veronica would text me later, an exasperated tone in her words. "Ryan, you packed Mia's summer dress for picture day. It's freezing out, and the school said formal attire. Honestly, sometimes I wonder if you even pay attention." I'd stare at the text, baffled. I remembered packing her little plaid dress, the one I bought specially for picture day. But then I'd see her in the picture, looking miserable in a thin dress, and the guilt would twist deeper. Maybe I had grabbed the wrong one in my hurry. Maybe I was more scatterbrained than I realized. Veronica started bringing these things up with mutual friends, always with the same performance of concerned exasperation. Poor Ryan. He's just so overwhelmed with work. I try to help, remind him of things, but he just forgets. The kids need stability, you know? I'd hear it secondhand, or sometimes she'd say it right in front of me. A subtle dig that left me flailing, trying to defend myself, while also feeling like I was making excuses. It wasn't just my friends. It was the kids' teachers, the school admin. A subtle ripple of doubt seemed to follow me. I saw it in their eyes, a gentle pity, a hint of suspicion. Was I becoming that parent? The unreliable one? The thought gnawed at me, a constant hum of anxiety beneath my skin. One afternoon, I was picking up Mia from her preschool. Her teacher, Mrs. Davis, a kind, grandmotherly woman, pulled me aside. "Ryan, dear, I just wanted to remind you about Mia's medication. She missed her dose this morning, and Veronica was quite concerned when I spoke with her." My blood ran cold. Mia had a mild allergy that required daily medication. I always made sure she had it. Always. I'd even sent a text to Veronica that morning, confirming I'd given it to her before drop-off. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through our messages. Nothing. No text from me about Mia's medication. Just Veronica's text from the night before, listing things to remember, with no mention of the allergy med, implying it was my responsibility to keep track. My hands started to shake. I distinctly remembered typing that message, hitting send. But it wasn't there. It was like a part of my memory was being actively erased. I started checking my phone obsessively, reviewing texts, emails, calendar entries. I'd often find a reminder I was sure I'd set, mysteriously gone. Or an email I'd responded to, suddenly back in my inbox, as unread. I even caught myself one night, checking my calendar for Leo's soccer practice, only to find the time had been changed from 4 p.m. to 3 p.m. I had a parent-teacher meeting at 3. My heart hammered against my ribs. Had I messed up the entry? Or had someone else? The idea felt paranoid, outlandish. Veronica loved the kids. She wouldn't do something like that, would she? The psychological pressure was immense. I started writing everything down, tripling my reminders. But even then, things would slip through. One day, I missed picking Leo up from school. An hour later, Veronica called, her voice trembling with barely suppressed rage. "Ryan, where are you? Leo's been sitting here for an hour. Mrs. Jenkins had to call me. He's scared, Ryan. He's 6 years old." I looked at my phone. The school pickup notification, which I'd sworn I'd set, was gone. Just a blank space in my reminders. I rushed to the school, my face burning with humiliation, my heart heavy with guilt for letting my son down. Leo, seeing me, ran into my arms, tears streaming down his face. "Daddy, I thought you forgot me," he sobbed. That phrase, "I thought you forgot me," cut deeper than any accusation Veronica could have hurled. It wasn't just about my reliability anymore. It was about the fear I was instilling in my own children. That night, lying awake, staring at the ceiling, I felt a profound sense of despair. I loved my kids more than anything, yet I was failing them. Veronica's voice echoed in my head. The kids need stability. Maybe she was right. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this. The thought was a bitter poison, but it was starting to feel undeniable. The final straw, the breaking point that fractured my already fragile world, came during the custody hearing. Veronica had initiated it, citing a pattern of neglect and my demonstrated inability to consistently meet the children's needs. I walked into that courtroom feeling like a shell of myself, defeated before the battle even began. My lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Sarah, looked confident, but I just felt hollow. Veronica, impeccably dressed and composed, sat opposite me, an air of sorrowful resignation about her. She spoke in a calm, measured voice, detailing every single one of my failures. The missed dentist appointments, the wrong clothes, the forgotten medications, the late pickups. Each incident a fresh stab of guilt. She presented a meticulously documented timeline, a thick binder filled with dates, times, and corresponding text messages. Each one showed me confirming an appointment, then her follow-up expressing exasperation after I'd supposedly forgotten. She even had screenshots of emails, my supposed replies confirming dates, followed by her reminders that I'd missed them. My head swam. I saw messages there, with my name attached, that I had no memory of sending. A text exchange where I clearly agreed to a Saturday playdate for Mia, only for Veronica to follow up with a message saying, "Mia was so sad you didn't show up. I told her you must have been busy." I remembered that day. I'd been home, waiting for her call, assuming it was canceled. My heart ached for my little girl's disappointment. As Veronica methodically laid out her case, Sarah leaned closer to me, her brow furrowed. She pointed to a screenshot on the projector screen. "Look closely at the timestamps, Ryan," she whispered. I squinted. A text from me, confirming Leo's doctor's appointment for Tuesday at 3 p.m. Then, a few hours later, a text from Veronica, just confirming Leo's appointment tomorrow, Tuesday at 3 p.m. Then, a day later, her message, Ryan, you missed Leo's appointment again. This is unacceptable. But the time on my confirmation message looked off, almost imperceptibly, a tiny, faint blur on the last digit of the minute. And the content of my supposed message, a short, almost curt confirmation, felt unlike me. I usually added a smiley face, or an okay, sounds good. Sarah caught the subtle anomaly. She requested an adjournment, citing newly discovered evidence and the need for digital forensic analysis. Veronica looked surprised, even a little smug, as if Sarah was just grasping at straws. The next 2 weeks were agonizing. I lived in a state of suspended animation, going through the motions at school, but my mind was a maelstrom of fear and a faint, desperate hope. Then came the call from Sarah. Her voice was grave. Ryan, you need to come down to the office. We have the results. Sitting across from her, the report spread out on the table between us. My world didn't just crack. It shattered into a million irreparable pieces. The digital forensic analysis confirmed it. Veronica had been systematically hacking into my phone and email for months. She'd installed spyware. She'd deleted my reminders, changed my calendar entries, canceled appointments I had painstakingly scheduled. She'd intercepted my legitimate texts and emails, subtly altering the timestamps, the content, sometimes even sending replies from my phone herself, making it appear I had confirmed things I never had, or ignored things I should have known. The text about Mia's medication? She'd deleted my confirmation, then texted me later implying I was neglectful. The missing soccer practice? She had changed the time in my calendar. The summer dress for picture day? She had switched it from the formal dress I'd packed. All to fabricate a meticulously crafted narrative of my incompetence, my neglect, my unreliability. All to portray me as an unfit parent, to systematically cut me out of my children's lives. The blood drained from my face. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just that she had lied. It was that she had actively, maliciously sabotaged me. She hadn't just stood by while I struggled. She had orchestrated the struggle. She had manipulated reality, not just for the court, but for me, for my children. The forgotten pickups, the missed appointments, the guilt, the self-doubt that had gnawed at my soul for months. It was all a cruel, calculated lie. Every moment I doubted myself, every tear I'd shed in shame, every time I'd apologized to my children for things I hadn't done, it was because of her. She hadn't just wanted to win custody. She wanted to destroy my confidence, to make me believe I was a failure, to make me feel the very neglect she was fabricating. The realization was a punch to the gut, so powerful it knocked the air out of my lungs. I felt a visceral revulsion, a cold, sickening horror. The woman I had loved, the mother of my children, had orchestrated an elaborate, psychological torment. My emotional collapse was complete. I barely heard Sarah talking, her words muffled by the roaring in my ears. I stumbled out of her office and walked the streets of Portland for hours, the rain a cold, cleansing balm against my feverish skin. The city lights blurred around me. I felt hollowed out, empty, yet simultaneously overflowing with a primal rage. A rage so intense it made my teeth ache. This wasn't just about custody anymore. This was a violation of trust so profound, so heinous, it bordered on psychological warfare. But somewhere, amidst the crushing despair and fury, a tiny spark ignited. A fierce, protective spark. My children. This wasn't about me anymore. This was about protecting them from a mother capable of such calculated cruelty. If she could do this to me, what else was she capable of? The clarity hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't unreliable. I wasn't forgetful. I wasn't a bad father. I had been a victim. And my children deserved a father who was whole, present, and free from this insidious manipulation. The next day, I walked back into Sarah's office, my jaw set. The despair hadn't vanished, but it was now overshadowed by a quiet, steel resolve. We're going to fight this, I told her, my voice surprisingly steady. We're going to show the court everything. And we did. The second custody hearing was starkly different. When Sarah presented the digital forensic report, detailing the spyware, the altered messages, the deleted entries, Veronica's carefully constructed composure crumbled. The color drained from her face, replaced by a ghastly pallor. Her lawyer looked stunned, then furious. The judge's expression hardened, moving from professional detachment to unconcealed disgust. Veronica tried to deny it, to stammer out excuses, but the evidence was irrefutable. It wasn't just a few altered texts, it was a systematic, prolonged campaign of psychological abuse and sabotage. The outcome was swift and unequivocal. Custody was reversed. I was granted full legal and physical custody of Leo and Mia. The court also ordered a full investigation into Veronica's actions, leading to criminal charges related to hacking and perjury. It was a victory, but one that tasted like ash in my mouth. My children, innocent bystanders in their mother's cruel game, were now facing the reality of a parent stripped bare, exposed for her betrayal. The emotional scars ran deep, and I knew they would take years to heal. Rebuilding trust with Leo and Mia was paramount. They had witnessed the tension, felt the instability. I had to explain, in age-appropriate terms, that mommy had made some very bad choices, that she was sick, and that it wasn't their fault. It was a delicate dance, protecting them from the full, ugly truth, while also reassuring them of my unwavering presence. We started family therapy, a safe space for us to talk, to process, to heal. I had individual therapy too, learning to untangle the knots of self-doubt and guilt that had been so expertly woven into my psyche. I learned about gaslighting, about narcissistic manipulation, about the insidious ways emotional abusers operate. I learned to identify the red flags I had so blithely ignored for years. Life with my children became a new normal, filled with a quiet joy tinged with a persistent awareness of vulnerability. Every school pickup, every doctor's appointment, every packed lunch felt like a deliberate act of love and defiance. I still checked my phone, my calendar, with a vigilance that bordered on paranoia at first, but slowly, with time and consistent reassurance from my therapist, it morphed into a healthy attentiveness. I found myself drawn to advocating for other parents who had faced similar situations. I joined support groups, shared my story, and offered what insights I could. It became a way to reclaim my voice, to turn my pain into purpose. Veronica eventually faced legal consequences, but that was just a footnote to the real story, the long, arduous journey of healing and reconstruction. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. There was no clean slate. The innocence I once possessed, the unwavering belief in basic human decency, was gone, replaced by a hardened wisdom. But what I gained was far more valuable, an unbreakable bond with my children, forged in the fires of adversity, and a profound understanding of my own resilience. I am Ryan O'Connell, a father who nearly lost everything, not to a visible enemy, but to a hidden hand. And I stand here now, scarred but stronger, a sentinel for my children, forever vigilant, forever present. Every morning, when Leo and Mia rush into my arms, their laughter filling the quiet house, I know I fought for this. I fought for them, and I won. And that, in its own bittersweet way, is enough.